All right, what's up, guys? Dr. Andy back with James on True Capacity Talks with myself. Today we want to get into a topic we don't really have a name for, but it's going to basically help people hopefully get out of their own way. So I want to break this topic down first, and James, you could probably add on to this or take away or do whatever you want with it afterwards. But essentially, we've all, at least myself and James, I know you have as well, especially within CrossFit, we've told that routine can sometimes be the enemy, especially of progress. We're going to kind of break that down and dispel that in terms of, getting you to not only progress in the gym, if that's one of your goals, but also just in health in general. So I'll kind of see what you have to say as far as add on or take away from that, if you agree or disagree.
State that one more time. That was a long statement. State it one more time. What do I agree or disagree with?
So do you agree or disagree that routine for health, right, is necessarily the enemy of progress?
Are you saying that it is or it is not?
I'm asking you if you believe that routine is the enemy. I'm saying that
No,
it's
no, no,
not.
no, no,
I'm
no, no,
saying that
no,
it's not.
no, no, no. It's not. It's not for a variety of reasons. I think routine is great. Now, it can also breed complacency, so you got to be careful, right? It's a double-edged sword
Mm-hmm.
there, in my mind. But no, I think routine is great, right? Because routine also means parts are autopiloted, and if parts never get to autopilot, um, you're going to stress yourself out to death. Like, there's no way. You can't be consciously thinking about everything at all times. That's called an existential crisis or crisis. And that's where people go mad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not into that. So, no, I don't agree. But I know CrossFit does agree that that routine is the enemy,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I won't stereotype it out to like they mean that for everything,
I
but
will.
you will. Yeah, no, you will. But what I'll say is, when I was a coach of it for a long time, in my mind, my mantra was, yeah, routine is enemy. So it's constantly varied, right? High intensity
Mm-hmm.
functional movements. That's the definition. I think people take that to the extreme
Mm-hmm.
where it became such a an attractive mindset to always change things up that all of a sudden we did this like complete 180 swing around, and now people have suddenly reinvented, um like, hey, we're gonna go on this strength program where we're gonna do an EMOM, right? Every minute, every 90 seconds, every 2 minutes, whatever it is, of back squats or deadlifts or snatches or gymnastics. We're gonna do every week, 4x6 handstand push-ups, and we're going to slowly progress that way. And all, so it was almost kind of this, at least in my eyes, in the CrossFit sense, this randomization or constant variation of things every day, every week, swung around to be like, oh, we're going to be different, and we're going to do stuff that's more linear.
We're going to do
So
stuff that's more traditional that we've done for tens of hundreds of years.
right. So it's a weird dichotomy and play on your mind of, okay, well, CrossFit tried to be so different, and then everybody started getting along, on that train, and then somebody broke off and been like, well, we're gonna go back to, traditional stuff, but we're not gonna call it traditional. We're gonna say it's different, but it's just different than what CrossFit used to be.
Mm.
So I know we're being specific to the gym, and we'll kind of, diverge out into just health overall.
Yeah.
But it's funny how you can zoom out from that in the macrocosm and see that as like, okay, you challenge the brain, let's
Mm-hmm.
just say you challenge your system in variety for a period of time that became autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you were saying, like it's good, that routine is good to drive all those systems from your conscious into your subconscious. When that happens, it takes less energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. You can put forth more energy to other things, more vital things, for whether it be repair or growth in the body, we're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went from that mindset of like constantly varied to like all of a sudden, well, we're going to go back to more linear stuff, right? It was a shock or a change to your system, right? That you had to consciously kind of think about. And until that becomes subconscious and routine, then you'll shift it to somewhere else. So like, and that's, to me, that's how growth actually occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You want to become so proficient at something that it literally just becomes instinctual, aka subconscious. And then in order to keep growing, you just have to just meddle just enough of your conscious to stir that or change the direction, right? And then you do that, you make that a routine, then you drive that into your subconscious or your neural network so that it becomes second nature.
Yeah, man.
That was clear. That was good enough, right?
That was very clear. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think that that's something that we can see in a lot of things. And I'll take it out of health and wellness for just a second. We didn't, we weren't born knowing how to drive a car, right? We weren't born knowing how to tie our shoes or, how to write the alphabet. But eventually, if you consciously focus on the steps that it takes to get to the outcome in these different areas, it will become subconscious. I don't think about how to write an A when I write my name. I don't think about how to write any of the letters when I write my name. The only thing that I think about when I'm writing is I don't really know how to write cursive anymore, right? But regular lettering, I'm fine. And I don't have to think about, wow, the silent enemy. How do you spell the silent enemy, right? I'm looking at what we were looking at when I looked up some stuff a minute ago. And I don't think of like silent. I don't think about that. But I'm also 28 years old and spent a lot of time in English class and doing linguistic stuff that like phonetics, enunciation, pronunciation, grammar was so consciously beat into my head that now, with the exception of here and there where I'm like, oh shit, I don't know if that's, I don't know if pronoun antecedent, I don't know if that's correct. I don't know if that gerund should be like that or that this should be plural, or there's very few scenarios where I'm like, wow, I don't know if that's written correctly. Where when I was younger, it was always, is that written correctly? Am I saying it right? Am I using the right there? Am I using the right, the right pronoun here or the right pronoun there? Or does it need to be plural? What have you? I think in the gym, right, to take it from there back to the gym, I think that a lot of people get into a position where you never really progress if you're not tracking, right? And if you're not tracking what you're doing, you're not consciously aware of what you're doing, the reps, the sets, the prescribed RPE or RIR, right? Reps in reserve or rate of perceived exertion, right? Just two different schools of thought of how to measure how difficult something is. If you don't consciously think about those things when you're starting a program, now, if you've been following the same program for 6 months and it's, a progression or a progressive or double progression program, cool. It's going to be kind of blended in for you, the percentage jumps. But if you're not consciously aware of what's happening, at least when you start, it's easy to stop. It's easy to not show up. It's easy to say, wow, this is too complicated, right? I don't even understand how all this ties together. So you have to be conscious. You have to be paying attention to the movement videos that are assigned to every movement when you start. You didn't learn how to do a pistol from walking around on 2 feet regularly. You didn't learn a double under or a bar muscle up or even how to bench, squat, or deadlift in a commercial gym or anywhere else by just reading books about it. You have to go out there and put your hands on a bar. You have to go out there and move. And that requires you to be conscious and thinking about the different cues that you need to think about to move. But it also requires you to try. And I think that's where people get off base there. We were talking about earlier before we hopped on that, the complexity, the perceived complexity of programs or of health changes produces more sedentary individuals. It is in my mind, one of the massive reasons that we have all-cause mortality like so crazy, right? It's in my mind why people are walking around with type 2 diabetes, walking around with high cholesterol. They're walking around with haven't run, sprint, jumped, walked more than a measurable 15 minutes in the last 3 years at any given time, right? We spend our leisure time sitting down and eating, and usually eating nutrient scarce and calorie dense foods, right? Your candy, the easy stuff that's also cheap, right? And so I'm not going to sit here and say that stuff is expensive and there's a barrier to entry for people that are low income, because there's not. It's actually cheaper than regular food. Steak, if you were to compare nutrient density to nutrient density, right? Red meat, let's say, organic, cruelty free, right? Pulled from a place where they're not crammed into a house. You compare the nutrient density of that to potato chips, And do you know how many bags of potato chips you'd have to get to the place at the same nutrients? Probably more than you could even purchase with any money that you have in your pocket. And even then, it come with a lot of secondary shit that nobody needs. And so I think that, the complexity is used as kind of a, I don't know what the word for this is, but like a get out of jail free card of like, red card, can't prioritize it. It's too complicated. I don't have money for a program. I can't go to the gym. I don't know how to eat. So, fast food is the only way. Like, my guy, my girl, that's not the case. And you don't have to listen to Peter Attia or Aubrey Marcus or, Dr. Rhonda or anyone that comes on Rogan or read tons of books to just start. You don't. Yeah. And I'm not, someone on one of our YouTube videos commented, I was saying that, if you don't ever move the first 5 minutes in the day, right? The first, not first 5 minutes of the actual chronological day, but if you don't start by moving
your
5
day.
minutes, if you don't start by moving 5 minutes of your day somewhere, you'll never get to a place where you want health wise. And the amount of pushback that I had on people saying that their work is too hard, they don't sleep enough, the work is what's made them gain weight. It's surely not the food, right? It's not the food and it's not the lack of activity. And I don't know what it's like to not have time to work out and yada, yada, yada. And like, I know you've done more than shift work, like more than 12 hours, right? Firefighting. Yeah. I know you've done other, like there's plenty of times where you're, even right now, you're physically manually adjusting people all day. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's taxing. That's definitely taxing. You could just as easily, probably more easy than most people, say, you know what? I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to work out. Like I get enough activity at work.
Yeah.
That would absolutely be detrimental to your health in the long run. And for me, I think that for you there, it wouldn't be based on complexity. It would be based on laziness. But for a lot of people in your position, having the same manual labor minus the education on the body, right? Easily or say, it's too complicated. I don't want to put the effort in. I can't do it. I'm focused on too much.
Yeah, I think so. All that stuff was awesome. I think the complexity leading to inaction, the paralysis by overanalysis, right? Where you said it great, where you make up the excuses, mm-hmm. right? Because there's a million reasons not to do something, probably more than that, right? But typically only like one or a few good reasons to do it, but those are well mm-hmm. worth it. But yeah, the conscious effort to say, I am going to get up 5 minutes earlier than you normally do just to move, whatever that looks like. Right. And that's just an arbitrary example of something to do, but that's all it takes in the grand scheme of things. 5 minutes, right? What is that? For whatever reason, you change up the scenario. Hey, I want you to get up 5 minutes earlier so that you can get to work 5 minutes earlier than that. Right. And then end up getting your promotion because your boss or your superior sees that you're putting in the extra effort.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's 5 minutes, dude. Like
it's just
you just left a few minutes earlier so that you're one of the first people there.
Right.
By less than 10 minutes, less than a sixth of an hour.
And you don't know, we can't pretend to estimate or foreshadow like what that positive repercussion has in our future. Mm-hmm. Like David Goggins, we both read his book, don't know him personally at all, but he has a lot of good stuff in there as far as like just getting started. Now he goes very extreme with, how he, self-talked mm-hmm. to himself, right? From like a negative sense, mm-hmm. but in a positively built up way. Mm-hmm. So not everyone needs to be David Goggins, but he had no special, training, at least to my knowledge, as far as like, he just wanted to get better pull-ups. So guess what he did? He just started consciously every day doing, metrics of pull-ups. Right. He wanted to get better at running, to become a Navy SEAL and all these things. He just started doing push-ups, squats, running. He didn't know what he was. He doesn't proclaim to have this amazing schedule as far as like, here's what I did day 1, day 2, whatever it was. He just tracked it, like you said, James, right? Really meticulously. And he just saw progress and he pushed himself consciously. So if you go out and run a mile today, right, and you haven't done that in either a long time or you've never done it, you're probably going to be sore. It's probably going to hurt. You're probably going to have to think about what you're doing. You're going to be hyper focused on the trail or wherever you're running, right? Because it's new to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you do a mile a day, and I'm not saying that this is actually attainable, okay, but you do a mile a day for a year, let's just say. By
Mm-hmm.
the end of the year, you're going to forget the little intricacies, you know, and pieces of like, hey, how do I run? You know, how do I feel? You know, what's the scenery around as you're running, right? It's just like when I get in my car and I drive to work. The first day, the first day I started working here at this office, I was super vigilant about where I was. I used my GPS because I had no idea how to get to work. Now I could pretty much be asleep
Mm-hmm.
and drive to work. And
Yeah.
on some mornings, I don't even know how I got to work because I just showed up here. And that's the perfect example of like driving your conscious circuitry deep into your subconscious that becomes second nature, so that I no longer feel as tired at work when I get here in the morning, because I did not have to spend that amount of energy with my neurons in my brain thinking, right? So the more you do something, the more lamented it literally becomes in your neural circuitry. And just because something seems like it's simple, like driving a car to work, right? It's it's super complicated to your conscious at first. The more that it actually becomes second nature, the more it actually gets interwoven into a deeper, more complicated network for a reason, right? It's a well-oiled machine. You know, some of the, and James can speak to this better than I can as far as maybe on the business sense, but like in sports, you know, the Patriots, the New England Patriots were great for 20 plus years, however long Tom Brady was there. If you're not a sports fan, then I apologize. But the New England Patriots won 6 Super Bowls, I believe, over 20 years or 19, 18 years, which is unheard of. So we look at that and we say, oh, well, it was the quarterback, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Like those two pieces were the primary, you know, they could have been, right? They're the faces of the franchise. But when you peel back and look at how that franchise was able to go 20 something years with success like that, you find that every layer from the top all the way down was incredibly well oiled and well tuned. And the same thing with your brain, with your neurology. So when you first start at something, yeah, you're going to suck and it's going to take energy and it's going to be uncomfortable and you're going to have to focus on it and it's going to feel like it's just you're through the drudges. But the more you do it, right, the more it just, like I said, becomes driven into that second nature of your neurology, and then you waste less time on it. You know, the first time you played chess, it was probably really confusing and you probably didn't know all the moves and you were slow. And that's why they have that time clock when you make a move and you press it. So, but the best chess players in the world, they're subconscious. They're already 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, however many steps ahead, right? Just because they've drilled all that stuff into their network. So, you know, for like James was saying, at first things can be complicated. Expect them to be complicated. That's part of the fun journey of this, right? Is you're going to gain a new skill. If shit was easy, right? If shit was easy, we wouldn't feel you wouldn't feel like you earned anything. You wouldn't feel endorphins, right? Which are one of the many hormones that you produce when you know, fulfill a task, right? And so if you could easily just fall in love or meet somebody, you know, the next woman you meet if you're a guy, or the next, you know, man you meet if you're a female, or if you want to, you know, go the same ways, right? Whatever sexual orientation you are, right? If you meet your significant other, the next one we're just walking down the street and it was super easy, all you had to do was just look at them in the eye, there wouldn't be that much fulfillment for it. And I'm not saying that there needs to be games in the romantic field.
There does.
But if there's no kind of like reward or challenge, right, then you're not going to be fulfilled by that.
Yeah.
So I don't, you know, for people out there that are just, you know, like you said, James, well, this is too complicated, or I don't have the money for this. All this stuff that we're saying is pretty much free.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was in high school, and James, you're probably the same way. You know, when I was in junior high school and high school, and I wanted to get better at baseball, my coach said, "Hey, you got to get in the gym and get stronger, right? And to keep making the team." I was like, okay, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, so I just started doing push-ups and pull-ups. I went and bought a little hanging bar pull-up from from Walmart from my doorway, and I just started doing push-ups. And then bought one of those like cheesy little, you know, ab crunch machines, and I just started doing that, you know.
Yeah.
And every night did it. And as you can tell, you know, I got a shot at the MLB. I turned them down because I wanted to become a chiropractor, right? But you know, I just made a life decision there. No, but you start somewhere, you know. And I saw progression. I saw progression over time, and then it became this career where I was a coach, and then that became, you know, it led to other things where I became a chiropractor and whatnot. And you know, now I do what I do as far as functional fitness. So it's you start somewhere, and it slowly just becomes easier and easier and easier, and you spend less energy on it.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
I think,
food wise, nutrition wise, James, you were saying earlier, you know, people look at you and I and say, well, how can you eat, the way that you do? Like, it's so easy to reach for, a cheap food, right? Fast food or a candy or a, salty snack. Well, this isn't a brag, but it's not that hard for me because it's become such a habit where I don't crave pizza. I don't crave chips. I don't crave chocolate because I haven't had it in such a long time because my literal neural circuitry is so used to eating the way that I do
mm-hmm.
that it's no longer, I have to consciously think about putting those things into my body.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, if you just, like James, you said, if you're bored and you just find yourself eating, and then 4 hours later after watching a football game, you're like, holy crap, I went through 3 bags of chips and 2 sodas, right? For me, it's okay. Yes, I do get bored and I eat, right? But that eating becomes like, you know, I'll have, and I hate to say this generic term, but like a salad. That salad consists of like greens with maybe some fruits in it, right? Some nuts and seeds and some oils, all that kind of stuff. Like that's, for me, that's what I choose to go and eat. Or like say have a steak, or if, a peanut butter and jelly or an almond butter and jelly, whatever it is, right? I know that's your favorite, but I don't, it's driven into my circuitry that I no longer crave those certain foods. I have to consciously kind of be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I will have ice cream today.
Yeah. But I think it's conscious repetition, right? Because you won't crave the gym for a long time until you make the gym part of your life for a long time. I think that you say it may be complex for people. It may be complicated. It may be difficult. No. Let's set expectations correctly. It will be complicated. It will be difficult. It will not be fun in the beginning.
That's fair.
I didn't love working out the first time that I worked out in the gym, at least, right? I didn't just like, yeehaw, I have a boner for weightlifting. I did not feel that because I sucked at it. I was terrible at it. I tried to bench. I couldn't even do 2 plates, one on each side. Couldn't even do a plate on each side.
So 135? Right?
Could not even do 135 the first time I lifted at all. And I weighed more than 135. And that was embarrassing. Right?
How old were you?
Embarrassing. 8th grade.
Got it. No, okay.
Yeah. I wrestled at 127 as a 7th grader.
Dang. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Jeez. How tall were you then? Sorry, we're getting off topic.
Almost same height. Almost same height I am.
Wow, now. You were a string bean.
Yeah.
Just for those that are listening and kind of want to get a good comparison here. So, James, your quads are about, one of your quads is about the size of both of my legs probably put together. And I know I'm shaming myself right that. So just for all you that are listening, so it's been about over 3 years since I've been able to really lift.
Mm-hmm.
So, and James knows that, but like, yeah. So props to you, man. 127 to what are you now?
Oh, dude, I'm like 235 right now.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah. So from 7th grade to now, over 100 pounds.
So right. And you consciously made an effort
to lift. Yeah. And even I mean, there's points where I got more lax in diet. I mean, I'm higher adiposity, higher body fat percentage right now than, I mean, I would like to be, but it's also not as important to me to do another 30 to 45 minutes of intentional conditioning plus yank out my optionality on certain things. Like here and there, I'm just like where I'm at right now. It's a conscious decision not to do it. And I think that that's totally fine as long as it's volitional. What I'm not cool with is anyone just being like, I'm a matter of circumstance. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to do it. No, my ass sitting here right here before you and saying, if I wanted to, I could. I choose not to. I would rather eat more food after I do a heavy legs 3 or 4 times a week. I would absolutely rather do that and keep more weight on, but feel better doing that, doing what I enjoy doing in the gym than walking around hungry like Bambi. So here we are there.
And I would say this too, like because again, we harp on the gym aspect of it. Like if you're one of those that's just not in the equation for you right now. Like I have a good buddy who works in the entertainment industry, as far as I think he builds sets for a lot of movies and whatnot, but their hours are nuts. He makes it into the office to get an adjustment, but we work from like 6 until 6 or 7, so 12, maybe even 14-hour days, 6-7 days a week. for somebody who has a schedule like that, or they're just like, hey, listen, I can't afford a gym membership. I can't get to a gym time wise. Right. That's okay. One of the greatest things that I saw was this 30-day challenge idea where, and even though I'm not a fan of like just that, hey, 30 days, that's it. Right. But it's a great way to kind of just set a short-term goal or a subacute goal, I guess, where it was, hey, do, this movement every day for 30 days. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, all right, well, hey, if this is you, do some push-ups every night for 30 days.
Yeah.
Whether that's 5 push-ups, 30 push-ups, 100 push-ups, whatever it was. That was something that I did a long time ago when I wanted to get better at push-ups. But just start somewhere, whether that's lunges or squats, right? In your bedroom, in your house, whatever it is. If you have a pull-up bar, great. Just start something that's free. That's free. And see, you may not want to get down on the floor and do 10 push-ups that 15th or 16th or 20th day, whatever. But I guarantee you, when you get to that 30th day, or maybe even sooner than that, you'll feel a level of confidence and reward. I can't think of another word, but you'll feel good. Being like, wow, you know what? I only got 10 more days. I'm 2/3 of the way through. Sweet, do that. And then set another goal at the end of that, or even before that, to be like, you know what, the next 30 days, I'm going to do this many. Right. And slowly you'll start to see that seep into your natural daily routine. Most people aren't walking around. We talked about this earlier. Most people aren't walking around, on a daily basis thinking, okay, gosh, I have to remember right before I go to sleep or whatever it is, I have to brush my teeth. The majority of people out there, outside of kiddos that are just learning how to do that, have to consciously think about that. They just think, okay, I'm getting close to bedtime. Cool. And they just go and brush their teeth without even thinking about it. And then they go to bed. So these routines, these small little steps, and in this example, it's just moving, exercising, once a day. That'll start building into, well, you know what? Maybe I do have time, and maybe I do have the resources to go to a gym or to maybe join this sport and do this activity. So you never know what compound interest will come from just starting something today. Right.
Yeah. And so to kind of tie a bow on this, it's going to take conscious effort, right, to get it to a place where it is autopilot. It's going to be complex, right? Simplify it to the smallest parts that you can, and then attack them one by one. Prioritize and execute those. Number 3 there is, it's not going to always be fun, especially if you're not used to it. It's going to be a lot of learning and a lot of longer sessions in exercise, in meal prep, in shopping. It's going to be a lot longer of sessions for a while.
Yep.
Understand that. Probably 28 to 42 days. It's going to be longer for that amount of time every time you do it. But after 28 to 42 days of you doing it consistently, it's a different gear. It is completely different. And you will be in a position where you can absolutely get the things done at probably 80% of the time that you used to take, or 70% of the time that you used to take. And, number 4 there is, if you want the goal or the health promotion benefits more than you care about the discomfort, you'll get there. If that's not the case, you won't. And we're not assigning a moral value to that. But I can tell you this right now, that it's better to be healthier, to have quality of life while you are here. No matter if tomorrow's the last day, or it's 20 years from now. Quality of life is something that I strive for. So you got anything else before we wrap?
No, I think that was good, man. You wrapped it up beautifully.
Cool. Well, appreciate y'all listening. You can find us everywhere. We got a Facebook group where we drop tons of answers to all kinds of questions. These come out every single week on Wednesday. We will see you next week.